In this episode, I'm going to be explaining to you guys about deal structure. Now, it's a recent deal structure we used in my company to generate, how much is the figure? Well, it's 16,800 over the first year, all the way up to 34,200 if it prolongs for a 3-year deal. So what I mean by that is the structure I'm talking about and sharing with you guys right now is to do with what we call rent arbitrage. Now, to give you a bit of background on rent arbitrage, I'm not going to go too deep because I want to deliver as much value as possible for you guys, assuming once I give you just an overview, you know what rent arbitrage is, okay? If you don't, you can just go to Google, just type in rent arbitrage, or even another word which they use now, which is called rent to rent, okay? So if you type that in, if you don't know what I'm talking about with the name of the structure, just go to Google. You don't need to spend, I don't know, 10, 20,000 pounds on some mentorship or some mentor program for them to explain these bits in between, okay? So we've been using this since around 2005. Rent arbitrage, it's called rent to rent today, okay? So this episode is around structuring a particular type of deal, okay? So you can earn more money, you can grow your business, and obviously have all the freedom to do whatever it is you want to do when your business is working and money's coming in and you've replaced your salary and you're financially free. It's entirely up to you what you want to do with your free time, whether it's build, grow your business, or lie on a beach and live the internet dream of automation, or just spend more time with your family. Whatever you want to do is absolutely fine, okay? We're here to talk about how to get you there by giving you as much value as possible, how you can structure deals like this to grow your portfolio. So we're talking about a student property. So it's a student property deal structure, okay? So this particular property has been with a letting agent for the last 10 years, okay? So it's with a letting agent for the last 10 years. And the letting agent is great. They've, been really good, had a very good relationship with the landlord. It's rented for the last 10 years. They are the biggest agent in the city. They are the best agent in the city. And I believe their stats last year was at least one property every single day consecutively over the year they have successfully let. Not found or had an instruction, actually let. So it's the biggest agent, the most amount of staff in the city, and they are letting huge amounts of property. As it happens now, we're doing business with this agent. Other things are developing and we're looking at lots of properties with them. But don't think the agent is a bad agent because they're coming to us. You're probably thinking, well, why are they coming to you to take properties from them? It's just a simple case of there's always an element, or there's always a handful of properties which either don't let for a particular reason. It could be the market, it could be the climate, it could be the price, it could be the condition, it could be the landlord. So there's multiple reasons as to why an agent, has no control over those elements, which is to do with the landlord. So there's always some properties in an agent's portfolio that maybe they might use two agents at the end, or they may even change agents, or they may even just need some help in the end from a company like ours, which can just help them obviously get them rented if they don't rent for any particular reason, or they're taking a lot longer to rent, okay? So this property had been with the agent for the last 10 years, okay? In the last 10 years, it was generating 4,200 per calendar month, okay? 4,200, that's to students, okay? Now there's 8 bedrooms, just so you know, so it's 8 bedrooms there, so 4, 2, 8 bedrooms, that's 5, 2, 5 per calendar month per room, okay? So big student property, 8 bedrooms, HMO of course, it's got the HMO license and everything else. Okay, so now the landlord obviously wanted 4,200 for this property because he has been getting it for the last 10 years. But a few factors which have changed in the local market, which comes down to It's actually the time of year. So if you think about it in this way, how we managed to structure this deal, which is some value for you guys to take away, just to consider when you're looking at your next property. So if you can build these, it's three things really. One is the most important thing at the end, which I'll get to, but there's three elements which enabled us to do this deal, okay? And if you can imagine, the asking price was $4,200 a month, okay? Just so you know, the end of this, the landlord's very happy, okay? It's not a case of we got a massive discount and we're gonna work with the landlord once, or work with the agent and the landlord once and that's it. That's not the case. This is win-win for everybody. So you'll understand when I get through these three elements in a moment. So you understand the climate, you understand the reasons behind it, and you understand the structure, which all led to the landlord going from a no to a yes. Because if you can imagine, it's on at 4,200. Would you accept an offer if this was you and your property? You had it let for the last 10 consecutive years, no problems at all to students, for 4,200. Would you accept an offer from myself, for argument's sake, at 1,800 a month? Probably not, because what's the difference in that? That's around $2,500, 2,400 difference. So it's over 100, or it's 50% lower, or more than 50% lower. So on the face of it, if we just turned up and said, hello, yes, it's on at 4.2, we'll pay you 1,800 a month, they'll just close the door, okay? Now, when you understand these three things that all contributed to enable us to structure the deal, you can go away and use it in your business and obviously build your portfolio and generate some more properties, or acquire more properties, whatever it is you guys want to do. So let me go into the three main things that enabled us to do this particular deal, which is the structure, and I'll explain at the end how they all come together. So the first thing is, actually, let me go back a little bit before I go forward. This deal actually took around 3 weeks to put together. Now, it took 3 weeks to put together because obviously the first time that the deal came to us, which was from some online marketing. So there was some online marketing that we'd done a while ago. So there was some information in the public domain, in the news, just like some press releases and things like that. And it led to the landlord themselves finding the advert or finding the article and then contacting my company. Okay, so they just literally contacted us and then it started from there. Now the property was already on with an agent and the landlord was also looking for alternatives because the agent hadn't let it. Once again, they're a fantastic agent. It was just the climate, the time of year and the price, which the landlord at the time was very rigid with. But obviously working with us, he understood different things and the way we presented things and the way we structured the offer, which enabled us to help the landlord go from here as a no at 4.2 to here as to a yes at 1,800. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how we did that. Okay, so the first thing which is important is the market. Okay, so let me just explain what I mean by that. The market is the market. So that's out of our control. I can't change it. You can't change it. God can't change it. The market is the market, okay? So if you can imagine, it's a student property, okay? And now right now we're in October, okay? So we're in October. It actually started at the end of September. So September was when we actually started the negotiations. So anything stand out about September for student properties to you guys? Now, September is when the term or the semester or the student year commences, okay? So that's when all of the students are arriving on campus and they're going into their accommodation and they're starting their course, whether it's the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth year, whatever course they're doing. That's when they're all coming in to the university. So they're all moving into their homes, okay? So as you can imagine, in September, there's a massive influx of the students which were arriving to check into their new homes or rented homes or the home from last year, and they're coming back before they start their year. Now the year ends for them around June, okay? So it's September until around June, okay? So there's that window of how long they want our accommodation for. So if you think September, we've got to September, the market is the market. We're now nearly at the end of September, and the agent hasn't let, well, let's just talk about this property. The agent hasn't let this particular property, okay? Now, because it's September, the landlord and the agent is obviously getting a bit nervous because the time of year, if they haven't already found somebody, which they normally find a tenant, probably they start shopping around January the year before to find, January the earlier term, to find the tenants, to sign up, to pay for it, so everything is done for them to move in September. So they hadn't managed to fill it this year, okay? So you can imagine, because of the market conditions, the landlord's a bit nervous, the agent's nervous. They're the biggest agent in the city. The landlord has had great success over the last 10 years renting this property at $4,200 a month. So the agent is sort of scratching their head thinking, hold on a minute, we've still got this amount of properties on, all the students are in, halls we don't even think they're completely filled up. That means there's just hardly any students left. Now that conversation is being had on a weekly basis with the landlord, as you can imagine, ringing, have we got any tenants? Why is there nobody moving in? How many viewings have we had? What are we going to do? This isn't looking good. They're both scratching their head thinking, we're going to have to just think about alternatives. Now, the market is the market. So when you understand the timing and the time of year and when it's best to approach landlords, investors, letting agents with these types of properties, it's all to do with the time of year, the timing. So just remember that September, if they're not already let, is a great time to target student properties where you can get very good incentives. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, there's three elements to this. Two are very important. One is one is what sealed the deal. Okay, so the next one is the it's rapport. Okay, now to make rapport a lot easier, it's just being nice to the landlord and being friendly to the landlord and being interested in what the landlord has to say. Okay, that's the easiest way I can explain rapport. And again, this isn't about rapport this episode. You can just go to Google, type in what is rapport, or why do I need rapport, or how do I do rapport, or how do I get into rapport with somebody, and that will give you everything you need to know. So after this, just go to Google and type in rapport. Oh, okay, you got it. You don't need to spell it. Okay, so I would just say rapport is just basic business. To me, rapport is just basic business. It's something that you need to do, or you need to be doing constantly every single day, on every phone call, on every meeting, or at every meeting, with people that you meet, with people that you want to meet. It's just a basic thing. So it's being nice, being familiar, being friendly, and finding some common familiarities, with the person you want to work with. So in this particular example, when I spoke to the landlord myself on the phone, I remember just general things, okay? This is rapport, guys, general things. The landlord said something along the lines of, he's been very busy lately because of the work that he does. He's involved in this company, he's involved in this in the community, and he's very busy and he has to give a talk on that. So he's very busy at the moment putting the speech together. He also said or revealed that he's going on holiday soon because he needs to be somewhere else. So he's away on like a business and a personal trip, okay? After several conversations, some more things came to light. So to get into rapport is remembering the important things to that particular person. So to keep it very simple, the holiday, the business trip, the thing in the community, and giving a public speech, okay? So whenever we spoke, whenever we engaged, after we sent the offer, after we had the viewing, etc., it was always just bringing up those nice things as if you're interested. Like when, I don't know, for example, in the conversations it came up that, well, how is the trip going? Or you must be excited about going on that trip soon. How is the speech? Are you nervous? And just being nice and friendly and just talking about the things that they have already told me or already told us, okay? That's very important. Now that helps take somebody from here all the way across to here, which is doing business with you, okay? So just being nice, being interested in the things that they say and remembering. I mean, if you don't remember things, just have a fact sheet to write it down, okay? So anything they would say of any importance or relevance, when they reveal it to you on the phone, just write it down. So they're going on holiday, this is the country they're going to, this is the work they do in the community, this is a speech they got to give, and any things they said of relevance that you just have like a file, like a set of notes around that person. It really does help build the relationship. This is just about taking a brand new relationship from here to here, which leads to where the business starts, where they have confidence and where they're happy and comfortable to work with you instead of another company, okay? It really is that simple, so I don't want to overcomplicate that. Now, the third thing, which I believe is the most important thing, which helped take the landlord from here at 4,200 a month to here accepting 1,800, okay, from us, from my company. So the third thing is, it was our offer letter. Okay? It was our offer letter. So something that we changed in the letter, because let me go backwards before I go forwards to explain this to you guys, so you understand this structure in a bit more depth. We always obviously send an offer to the landlord, so it's very difficult where the property has rented at 4,200 every single year for the last 10 years to students. Now, because the market has changed and because I know how much we'll get for the property, which is actually, well, to get that particular property rented in a very, very short space of time, in the end of September going into October, okay? So most of the students are already in. Remember, the best agent has had this for 10 years and hasn't let it. You know, all credit due to those guys. They're fantastic agents. We're working together and doing more business together, which is great. So the agent is ideal. But the time of year, so if you can imagine 90% of the tenants are already in, maybe 95%, and there's just a few stragglers left which haven't found accommodation. So there's hardly any demand, right? Hardly any demand from tenants, but there is a massive oversupply. I counted at the time, there was 127 available at the exact same time. Where this one was here, it had 8 bedrooms, there was 127 all on the market at the same time. Now that may make you nervous by thinking, well, how is it possible for me or for you to find a group of tenants, not just a few group of tenants? This is one of the biggest properties in the city, 8. You know, it's not 3 bedrooms, it's not 4 students or 5 or 6 or 7, it's 8. It's the biggest one on at the time, so it looks like the hardest work, and there was hardly any students around, just the lack of demand and a massive oversupply, okay guys? So I knew, instead of the 4.2, which it was up for, which it had rented for the last 10 years, it had to be priced aggressively for me to find my group of students, for them to move in, so I'm not left holding the baby with a massive void, with no students and paying, you know, a huge amount of money for a house which used to be, I don't know, a 3-bed semi or maybe a 4-bed semi with 2 reception rooms, something like that downstairs, which has now been turned into a HMO, and there's a little extension at the back, and now it's got 8 bedrooms, and it used to be, I don't know, £900 a month as a single family home. Now it's a HMO for students. It rents at $4,200 a month, okay? So I didn't want to be left stuck holding the baby, can't find tenants, knowing the student year's already started and they're already in, okay? So for me, I knew that I could get $3,200 a month, okay? So it's on at 4.2, $3,200 a month. That's not what I pay the landlord. That's what I knew I could rent it for. Now that's just based on some very simple market research and due diligence that all of you guys would be doing anyway, of course, unless you're crazy, before you enter into any deal. So looking on the internet, looking on Rightmove, looking at comparables, seeing how many are on, looking at the time of the year, and just looking at the interest from students at that particular time. So I knew I had to price it aggressively to find my group because there's only a few groups of students left. So $3,200 a month, which is the price I priced it at, and it is the price that we got. $3,200. Okay. So now I needed to work out where I needed to be so that's still commercially viable for me, so it's a good sound investment, so I can still make money. And at the same time, the landlord is happy with a reasonable offer that instead of the property being empty, he would lose all of that money because the student year has started, unless he was very lucky to find a late group. Obviously, he's not going to get anywhere near those figures, but it's already been empty for a long period of time, okay? Probably from around June, when the students normally leave, so it's been empty for a while already, so he's been feeling the pain of having no income or no rent coming in. $3,200 is what I paid, and what I needed to do was to demonstrate somehow to get the landlord from the no he originally said all the way across to a yes, and at a lower figure, so I can still make money at 3.2. So going backwards, when I originally sent the offer, it was just an offer letter. This is how much we'd pay. It's something that we've used for a very long time. It explains lots of different things and how it would work, etc., 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 and then there's the figure. At the start, when the landlord saw that, obviously in September, it was just a straight no, because I've been getting $4,200 a month for a very long time, so I couldn't justify renting the property to you at that low figure. But thank you for your offer, and that was that. So it went from a no, okay? So that was a no back then. Now, it probably took me about 3 weeks to get the landlord from a no to a yes, okay? Now, that just happened with the constant communication, the finding out how it was going with the agent, dropping a phone call to the landlord, every 3 or 4 days or so, finding out more about the landlord on every single call, whatever he said, and then just talking about those things to the landlord on the next call. So something he revealed today, talked about on the call with the landlord on the next call. And that is just basic business. Again, it comes down to rapport, but it's a basic business thing, okay? You want to work with people, you want to do deals, you have to have an interest in the person and be in the moment with the person, okay? So not distracted and not missing all of those signals. It's just being tuned in. That's just basic business, okay? So over that course of 3 weeks, it was phone calls, it was emails, it was finding out how things are going. And then it got to the point where the landlord sort of gave some signals to say he's obviously struggling with the agent, whereby they still haven't found anyone. And now we're approaching October, and the agent is even saying to the landlord, because they're good friends, you need to maybe start to consider that offer from the other company even as a backup, because we've been working with you for a long time. We know that if it's not like last week, it's going to sit empty probably all the way until September, and we just don't want you to lose out all of that rent. So you need to just, think seriously, because the numbers have dropped. There's less students, Brexit and everything else, less international students are coming over. All the universities, or many of them, or this particular city, are building on the campus. So they're keeping students on the campus, brand new boxes, en suites, flexible contracts, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, whatever they need. So there's less and less demand and a massive oversupply of properties. Less demand from students, massive oversupply of properties. So the agent in the background is sort of saying to the landlord he should really consider this. The landlord is thinking, oh my God, that figure of 1,800, which is what we offered back then, was just completely too low, okay? So over that period of time, it was getting the landlord to agree or getting to a point where he was happy with a figure. So let me explain what I did, which is where it's how we sort of convinced or converted this landlord, by doing something differently with our offer letter, okay? So let me explain what we did. So after talking to the landlord, he started to say some signals along the lines of, it's just very low. If it was a bit higher, you know, I'd think about it. And then what about this? And what about that? And well, I'm not sure about this. And I would do it if I did that. So it was very, very simple. I just listened to all the things that the landlord said that he wanted, and I just gave it to him. So it's very simple. I knew my numbers and what I would achieve, even letting the property at 3.2. So I knew I needed to be around 1,800, or I'd even go up to a maximum of about 2,250. So it'd still make me more or less £1,000 every single month consecutively, okay? So I knew where I needed to be. So it's just a case of just tweaking those numbers slightly. Bearing in mind, he'd rejected the 1,800 offer before at the start, because it was just seemed madness to him. It was just too low. Couldn't even entertain it when he was getting 4.2. It's a £2,400 a month rent reduction, okay? Now, what I did with the offer letter is I altered the figures in a way that the landlord would get closer to what he wanted, to include all of the other things that he wanted. And I also presented it in a different way, okay? So what I did is I used like a comparison box, okay? So I showed the landlord, this is how much you would get when you let the property to an agent. Sorry, this is how much you have been getting over the last 10 years or each year while you've been letting the property to the agent. So I had to do some research and go away and find out what the agent charged for finding a tenant, what the agent charged to manage the property, how long the average void was, how much the maintenance cost, and some other things as well. So I knew from the 4.2 that the owner landlord used to receive, actually at the bottom, what he actually got, the net figure after all of the agent's fees, the voids and everything else. Also calculating how long the property had been empty right then, knowing that it's less and less and less and less that he would receive for the next 12 months, because he's already lost more or less 2 months of this year. And at the end of the year, when the students leave normally around June, he's also lost 3 months there in the summer. So he's lost 2 at the start and 3 at the end. You could say in that 1 year, that's a loss of 5 months of rent, okay? So I changed the offer in a way that just showed him these fees, showed him this structure. So on one side, it's got what he would get if he just continued along this path, hoping that he finds a group of tenants, okay? And then next to it, I showed him exactly what we would pay, which would have been the 1,800, and how we would pay it over the term, okay? Now, he did come back and say that he wanted a little bit more money. So we restructured that offer in a way that he would get 1,800 right now for 1 year, okay? So 1,800 for 1 year would generate 16,800 profit for us at the end of the year, because we've let it at 3.2. Now, if he broke the agreement at 2 years, then obviously the figure went higher. From 1,800, we paid, let me think, 2,000 for a 2-year deal. And then if we got the full 3 years, we went to 2,250, okay? So if you can imagine, the landlord wanted 2,250, we wanted to pay 1,800, But what it means is 1,800 for us for 1 year works out at just under 17,000 we would make. And if we paid for 3 years the 2,250, we would actually make 34,200 over the 3 years, okay? So we structured the deal in a way where we gave them a break clause for 1 year, 2 year, and 3 years. Because this landlord was thinking, well, hold on a minute. I don't want to tie my property up for 3 years at 1,800 because I might get 4,200 for it next year when the new term starts or the new semester starts. And this is just basic things. This is what the landlord was saying. So this is what I mean by earlier. We just gave the landlord what he wanted. So we restructured the deal with the break clause, 3 years. Year 1, 1,800. Year 2, 2,000. Year 3, 2,250. Now, that enabled us to lock in 16,800 profit in year 1 by securing the property at 1,800. And if we keep it for the 3 years, 2,250, which is a profit of 34,200. Okay? Now, because I want to give as much value to you guys as possible, if you leave a comment below this video, wherever you read this article, wherever you're watching this content, or if you're listening to this episode on the podcast, where if you leave a comment below, okay, or a review below, wherever you hear it, what I'm going to do is send you this offer letter, okay? I'm going to send you this offer letter so you guys can see how we set that out, how we structured that, to get the owner to go from 4,200 all the way down to accepting 1,800, which will make us 16,800 in the first year, or 34,200 over 3 years. So leave a comment below, guys. Let us know if you want a copy of this, and we'll get it out to you guys as soon as possible. I hope you got some value from this. I would love to hear your thoughts.